What really happens on night shift in a locked psych ward? At 3:17 p.m., a pencil went missing. The unit stopped breathing. In a maximum security psych ward, a pencil is not stationary. It is a point, a lever, a plan. We count them like keys. If the number is wrong, doors pause, radios wake, and every face gets read twice. My job? Prison psychologist on a locked psychiatric unit for men who are both ill and violent. Concrete, Lexan, cameras that never blink. 24 beds. Schizophrenia with paranoia. Bipolar disorder with rage. Depression with guilt heavy enough to bend metal. The court sent them here because hospital and prison both apply. We are both. At 13:02, I signed out 2 pencils for Darren, 27. Tall, soft when steady, terrifying when the voices convince him walls are traps. He had earned a small trust. 2 clean weeks, meds on time, groups attended. He wanted to write to his mother. Supervised table. Staff within arm's length. Pencil on a lanyard. Eraser taped. The ritual matters. He wrote in block letters, slow. He paused, pressed the eraser between his fingers like a handle only he could see. At 13:47, I logged both pencils back in. Count right, door buzzed. Day moved. At 3 p.m., nursing ran the sharps check. At 3:17, the radio popped. Sharps short by 1. Different tone. Not panic. A tone that says, stop the world until we find it. There are only 3 reasons a pencil disappears here. Rolled someplace stupid, hoarded for control, turned into an instrument. All 3 end with the same word, search. Custody locked the day room. Nursing shut the med cart. Programs froze. We started at the table where Darren wrote. Under, behind, inside the vent lip with a mirror. The seam under the baseboard where dust writes its own books. Then Darren's cell. Mattress, folds, paper stacks. He draws doors. Hundreds of little doorways shaded with graphite until the paper goes shiny. We flipped every one. Nothing. Strip-outs are the nuclear option. You don't go there first. Strips bring trauma. Trauma brings injury. Injury brings lawyers. I ask for a funnel search instead. Day room, to cells, to vents, to carts. Buy time. Keep the temperature low. Custody agreed because time is currency on a bad day. While they searched, I watched faces. Eyes that scan too much, smiles on the wrong beats. The 4 who go very still when a plan takes a turn. I wrote initials next to tiny behaviors. Risk isn't a feeling, it's a list. At 3:23, an officer called out, half of an HB under the bookshelf. The wood was snapped, graphite dull, tape stuck to one end. That told us 2 things. It broke on purpose, and someone tried to hold it together long enough to use it.
Good news? We had something. Bad news? We were still half short. Custody wanted the strip-outs now. I stalled them 30 minutes with method. Check the cameras, run the laundry, shake the trash, sweep the drain lips. The cameras gave us only angles. The laundry gave us cloth and nothing else. Trash gave us wrappers and the day's boredom. No pencil. By 16:10, we were done buying time. Strip-outs started, slow, steady, calm, one by one, nurse and officer, same gender, blanket for privacy, trauma-informed script. No threats, no talk. We are boring on purpose. Darren's turn came. He stood at the red line, hands open, eyes on the floor, no shaking, no lecture from his ghosts. The team did their job. Nothing on him, nothing in the clothes, nothing in the mattress seam we had already checked twice. We were still missing half a pencil. I sat across from him in the interview room later, with custody in the window and nursing 2 steps away, because that is the fastest way to lower its temperature on this unit. No questions, just stillness. Watch the breath, count the blink rate. He stared past me, right shoulder twitching the way it does when the chorus in his head gets loud. He reached toward his pocket and stopped himself. Not a grab, more like a flinch from a memory. The memory mattered. I asked custody for his property box. They brought it. State shoes, 2 books, legal mail, a photo that hurts to look at if you're human. I thumbed the books. One was swollen from steam, library discard, broken spine. The back cover felt wrong, too stiff, not flexing like cardboard. I bent it gently. A sliver of wood fell out. Not the pencil, a shim, thin, whittled taped flat into the board. Not sharp enough to cut, just stiff enough to jam or wedge or pry. No how-to here. We don't teach tricks. The important thing, it had graphite smears. So our missing half had touched this book, had been used to make this shim, had then moved. Where? We locked the unit down for the evening count. Dinner trays came late. The mood turned brittle. A man on the far tier started pacing clean lines like he was ironing the concrete. Another rocked and hummed. On this ward, tension runs along the ceiling first. When it reaches the floor, you've already lost. I ran a risk huddle at the desk. Custody, nursing, psych, all shoes pointing the same direction. Simple plan. Freeze property on Darren's tier. Room by room recheck with a second team and a fresh set of eyes. Hourly welfare checks increased until count clears. No group tonight. Too much moving, too much chance to pass a thing. We walked the plan. Room by room. Air vents with mirrors again. Under the dayroom TV bracket again. Inside the bench crack again. Nothing. It felt like the unit itself was hiding the other half out of stubbornness. At 1942, a nurse at the med window caught a smudge on a wristband. Graphite, not dirt. She followed the line back to Baines, a quiet man with a talent for collecting little powers. Dry hands, clean nails, tiny gray dust at the knuckle. He lifted his palms, patient, bored. He is always patient. He is never bored. We searched his area again. Mattress seam, legal folder, cup, toothbrush handle. Clean. The graphite on the wristband could have been anything, or it could have been exactly what it looked like. Custody wanted to roll the tier to segregation until the piece showed up. I said no. Seg teaches the wrong lesson for this problem. It makes a hunter out of the whole unit, and then you have 50 eyes looking for a trophy. We needed boredom, not sport. We went back to Darren. Not because I thought he had the piece, because his drawings did. He still had that stack of doors, hundreds of them. We fanned them again. Graphite everywhere, of course, but one sheet felt heavier. The back ridge was wrong. I flexed it. The paper split. A second sheet glued perfectly behind the first with a film of toothpaste and patience. Inside, pressed flat, was the missing half. Wood blunted, graphite dull, wrapped in a strip of torn label to hide the shine. It wasn't a shank. It wasn't even useful anymore. It was control, a small "I can" in a world designed to say you can't. Hidden inside a door, the thing he draws when the voices tell him there isn't one. We cleared the count at 20:06. Doors unlocked. The unit exhaled. Nursing ran evening meds. Custody wrote the incident. I logged everything. Time out, time found, who, where, condition, intervention, plan. Paper is how this place remembers. I met with Darren again before lights out. No lecture, no threats. He sat with his hands tucked under his thighs, eyes on the cheap clock that loses a minute a week. The voices do most of the talking in his head. Mine didn't need to compete. I told him the new rule: no pencils for 7 days, then supervised golf pencils only, then try again. He nodded once. Not defiance, not remorse, agreement with gravity. The last task was the hardest: make the unit boring again. That means routine. Count, meds, showers, cleanup, sleep. Tomorrow, groups, yard, check-ins, tiny wins. Staff on the same beat, same tone, no victory laps, no speeches, no hero stories. Just the glide path back to normal. This is what people never see when they ask about my job. They want the headline case, the movie line, the madman confession. What we actually do is take heat out of rooms. 1 missing pencil, 3 hours of method, everyone alive, paperwork done. That's a good day here. I clocked out at 23:10, sat in my car and let the quiet arrive. My hands were still a little shaky from when the radio said we were short. That happens less than it used to. It still happens. Before I drove, I wrote one note to myself on a sticky I keep on the dash. Doors. Not the ones with locks. The ones Darren draws. The ones this place is supposed to build inside a human mind. He hid control inside a picture of a door. That's not nothing. That's a map. Tomorrow, I'll run the huddle again. We'll talk risk, meds, sleep, patterns. We'll adjust 2 plans. We'll make the pencils boring again. Tonight, the count is clear. The unit breathes.
Night shift is supposed to be easy. Lights down, radios soft, shoes quiet. It isn't easy. It's only quiet. I covered a sick call. The hall felt like an aquarium, blue, humming, everyone moving slow on purpose. Checks every quarter hour, eyes through windows, a mark on the clipboard so the lawyers and our consciences agree we were there. The trouble started the way it often does here, with paper. A court fax slid under Malik's door after midnight, hearing delayed again. He's the kind of man whose brain has a gas pedal and not much brake. Delay is gasoline. You can feel it from the hall. There's a routine we follow when the temperature rises. We change the room first. Fewer lights, fewer witnesses. Then we help the body. Water, bathroom, movement instead of argument. If that isn't enough, we offer the as-needed dose he already agreed to when calm. And if the motor still climbs, the team shows up. 5 staff who are boring on purpose and stand where they can be seen without looking like a wall. We did the room part, moved him into the small space with a mattress, soft walls, 1 window, nothing to break or turn into a tool. Walking helps him. He paced tight figure eights. The squeak of his state shoes made the janitor in me wince and the clinician in me pay attention. The motor was climbing. We did the body part, sat him down for water, breathed with him, slow in through the nose, longer out through the mouth. No speeches. People in that kind of speed hear instructions as threats. The team waited out of sight. I hate an audience at the door. An audience turns a moment into a performance. He slapped the glass once, just to hear it answer. Not a punch, an announcement. We let the door be a door, and not an argument. He said no to the first offer of meds, not with anger,
with righteousness. I'm fine without chemicals is a position, not a conversation. We respect positions until safety says otherwise. We circled back a minute later with the version he tolerates best, the one that melts and doesn't linger. This time he took it. That gave his body a chance to join the plan. He kept pacing. He looked at the sprinkler the way men look at edges when they're deciding whether to jump. He didn't. He sang a little. He does that when he tries to set his own metronome. The song was awful and helpful at the same time. 10 minutes later, and 10 minutes is a year on a night like this, his shoulders dropped a notch. Another few minutes, and he asked, without asking, to sleep in that room. We said yes. We kept eyes on him and closed the door gently, the way you close a door when a baby finally sleeps.
While that cooled, a different kind of heat drifted in. Baines, the quiet collector of small power, told nursing he was done. That single word pulls a lever. We moved him into the safest room we have. No hooks, nothing to tie to, nothing to climb. Staff sat where he could see a pair of shoes every time he looked up. Suicide watch looks like boredom if you do it right. Eyes, breath, water, repeat. We don't talk anyone into life at 4 in the morning. We sit close enough to keep them inside it. This is the part that scares me more than fights. The sudden silence after too much talk. The body gets still in a way that's wrong. He had that stillness for a minute. I slid my chair a little into his line of sight. Not a threat, just there. He glanced at the shoes, frowned at being caught by such a small thing, and started blinking again. That was enough. We made it to dawn without a code. That sentence would bore TV. It's what we're for. Mornings here are a tide. Carts roll. Showers hiss. Custody swaps keys. The TV ruins a movie with daytime color. I handed off a short plan to the day team. Simple and human. Keep Malik's room as his off-ramp if the motor climbs again. Write that in his words so he recognizes it as his idea tomorrow. Don't hand Baines any legal mail or court news until psychiatry signs off. Keep someone with him through lunch. Adjust the morning meds the way the prescriber already approved last month. Darren gets crayons for art until the pencil trust comes back. He draws doors. We can work with doors. We met with Malik mid-morning for the debrief we always do after nights like that. Not therapy, not court, just what helped, what didn't, what we try next time. He named the cool room and the water. He still hates the word as needed, but admitted the pill slowed the motor. We wrote his exact words into the plan so the paper sounds like him, not us. By noon, the unit looked like a place again. Custodians argued in a friendly way about floor finish, which is the sound of civilization. A chess game returned to the corner table where it lives forever because both players like not losing more than they like winning. Darren filled 3 pages with doorways, less like exits, more like frames. If you want the real story of a night here, it is inches. The kind you can't film. The room change that cut the audience. The cup of water placed at the right angle on the floor, because men in a certain kind of speed won't take anything from a hand but will pick it up from the ground. The shoe in a line of sight at the exact second a person tries to leave everyone he knows. The pill taken without an argument because it was offered like a choice and not a surrender. We didn't restrain anyone. We didn't lock anyone alone in a room. No staff got hurt. That doesn't mean the night was easy. It means the plan was heavier than the chaos. For once. On my way out, custody asked the question they ask after a shift like that. Good night. They don't mean pleasant. They mean, did method beat drama? I said yes. In the car, I let the radio talk about weather I won't see. My hands were still a little shaky, the same way they were yesterday when the radio said we were short a pencil. I wrote one word on the sticky note under yesterday's word doors. Inches. That's the job when the lights are low. Keep the inches. Trade 'em for hours. Make tomorrow boring enough that no one outside would care to hear about it, and everyone inside gets to live.
The unit runs on 4 clocks: medication, meals, checks, and mail. Mail is the smallest clock and the sharpest blade. The day after the long night, I was back on days. The halls had that after-storm smell. Cleaner, rubber, stale coffee. Custody swapped keys, nursing rolled the med cart, programs set out battered board games that make a brave face and lose pieces anyway. I walked my morning loop the way you pat pockets. Lights working, doors catching, faces at baseline. Mail arrived at 11. Clear bags, signed for, counted, stamped by a world that believes envelopes are always kind. We sort at the desk. 2 custody, 1 nurse, me to sign that we witnessed each handoff. Phones and pills break units. Paper cracks them. The first 3 bundles were boring. Pharmacy statements, a cartoon from a nephew, a church schedule that smells like the aftershave of every usher I've ever met. Then a stack that made the hair on my hands lift. Not the look, the smell. Like mint gum in an alley. Like a cleaning aisle pretending to be a garden. People have learned to use paper for more than words. I won't publish methods, I'll say this. Sometimes an envelope is trying to be a drug. We follow a quiet protocol when paper lies. Hold all mail, call chain of command, move to a table with gloves, a camera, 2 witnesses, evidence envelopes, and property box. The job is not to be a hero. The job is to be boring with good habits. I signed the hold. Custody made the call. The room temperature rose a degree. Word travels through concrete. It does not need lips. Malik, still a little ragged from the night, watched our hands. He reads rooms well. Too well. Baines sat 2 tables back with a face that says boredom and a knee that says math. Darren was at the art table drawing a doorway that looked less like an exit and more like a frame you could actually hang on a wall. We notified each man we were holding his mail for safety review. No lectures. A simple script. We're checking something. You'll get what you can have. People hear fairness in procedure more than they hear it in words. Nursing prepped a few rescue kits: water, ice, blood pressure cuff, pulse ox, emesis bin, not because drama was guaranteed, because paper has a way of turning into smoke or saliva or a bad decision if it finds the wrong hands. Prevention is cheaper than crash carts. The review started. We photographed the outside of each envelope. We listed senders. We looked for tells. Again, no recipes here, just the common sense you learn from 1,000 honest letters and the 3 that weren't. Custody separated the maybe dirty from the clearly clean. The clean can go today. The maybes take the slow lane to the office with people who have better tools than noses. While we worked the table, the unit worked us. A chess piece clacked. A chair leg scraped. 2 men compared TV listings and pretended they were not comparing hope. Every small sound checked for a chance to be big. The first clean belonged to Darren, a note from his mother. I watched him open it with both hands like the paper needed a careful landing. He read it twice, folded it precisely, slid it into his property folder, and went back to drawing doors. It is hard to explain how much that small triangle of paper lowered the room's emba.
Next letter. Baines. The envelope looked fine. The smell did not. Custody moved it to the slow lane. He kept his face a photograph. Quiet men can curl a unit by accident. Their stillness reads like strategy. I noted the shift and let the machine keep grinding. Malik's envelopes were plain. Legal mail and a cousin who signs his name like a quarterback. Legal goes sealed to the man, inspected for contraband in front of him, not read. Process matters more than our hunches.
He broke the seal, scanned, huffed at the delay, and tucked the paper under his tray like a waiter with a spare napkin. That was good. He didn't need more fuel. We had just finished the sort when the fire bell hit. 2 short pulses here mean drill. 1 long scream you can feel in ribs means move. The sound that arrived was the wrong one for a drill. A long, full, total unit command. Sprinklers didn't dump, smoke didn't show. Sometimes the HVAC burps dust into a detector and the building treats it like a sermon. Sometimes a kitchen toaster becomes a stadium. Either way, the response is the same. Count, gather, go. Paper froze where it was. Mail went to boxes and a locked drawer. I raised my hand toward the tier officer and drew a small circle with my finger, the sign for back to cells. The officer repeated the sign and added a chin point. Now. You cannot argue with bells, only with the speed of your own feet. We moved men by pairs, slow and identical, counting breath more than steps. The fire route in a prison hospital is choreography. Doors, waits, doors, clicks. You keep the same order every drill and every real event, so the dance lives in muscle. Men who live their lives on chaos find comfort in this one rehearsal. We lined them in the hall, heads up, hands visible, no talk. The bell ate the quiet anyway. Halfway through, Baines swayed like a tree waiting for wind. The smell near him was not mint anymore. It was metal, fear's qualifier. He folded in place, no drama, just gravity. We put him on the bench at the nook by the sally port, legs up, water to lips, nurse reading the numbers off her hand like a spell. His oxygen was fine. His heart was trying to finish a race it hadn't started. Anxiety wears a dozen masks. This one was the kind that scares a person without telling their body why. The bell cut. The voice came, mechanical, bored, all clear. The building apologized in its accent. We exhaled, but didn't exhale too loud. Men who live with alarms don't come down with the switch. We returned to posture. Back to day room, back to count, back to mail. Custody and I reopened the drawer and put our hands on the slow lane stack like 2 people about to defuse a very small bomb. We sealed 5 suspicious pieces in evidence sleeves. We finished the chain of custody page the way accountants finish a year. Numbers, signatures, dates. No poetry. The rest went out. Baines received his clean letters with a face that read, I expected less. Loss, dressed as dignity, is still loss. We placed him near the desk for the next hour because being near the place that knows what to do is sometimes the medicine. He drank water like it was a job and folded his paper into exactly equal parts. Malik read his cousin's letter with hungry eyes and then set it face down like it had tried to win. He asked for the comfort room option without using the word. We offered it before he finished his sentence. 10 minutes lying on a cool mattress looking at one square window can reset a human being more honestly than any motivational speech.
Darren finished a page of doors that had soft corners instead of bars. He handed me the drawing without looking up, as if the paper was the thing that wanted to see me, not the other way around. I told them we'd start again with golf pencils tomorrow. He nodded, a small yes that belonged to gravity. The afternoon settled. The bell became a story the building told itself. The mail that mattered, Darren's triangle, Malik's delayed hearing, rescheduled for actual calendar time, Baines' plain envelope that wasn't, islanded the unit into little calm waters. Then the property office called about the slow lane stack. Their meter had lit on 2 of the 5. Again, I won't give techniques, just the lesson. If you are going to run a ward safely, you must assume clever arrives disguised as ordinary. Property asked whether we wanted the county team to take the case or our own investigator. We chose both. Parallel tracks keep people honest.
Custody returned to the day room to tell the men with held mail that 2 envelopes were being forwarded to law enforcement and 3 were cleared. We gave the cleared ones first, because something to hold is better than nothing. We offered each man a chair near staff, water, and time. People don't explode because of the news. They explode because no one gave the news a place to land. Baines did not ask about his envelope. That was the tell. He built a card tower out of playing cards that aren't allowed on this unit, because this unit eats corners and hates joy. He finished the 3rd level and then pressed the top until the stack sighed. Control you can break on purpose is still control. By late afternoon, the smell of lunch disappeared and the smell of floor wax arrived. Custodians make hospitals bearable. They are the uncredited co-therapists of every psychiatric ward. The floor went glossy. The unit lights showed fingerprints that only matter to inspectors and people who grew up with mothers who saw everything. One of those mothers wrote to Darren today. It showed on the paper, it showed on him. We closed the mail log and tucked the slow lane receipts into the cabinet that only opens when 2 keys agree. The unit did the evening rhythm. Trays, noise, TV, the tired anger of bedtime. The bell did not return. The mint smell never came back. We'd find out tomorrow what the lab thought it found. Tonight we cared more about heart rates that had returned to respectable and hands that were empty. I wrote my note for the day team the way I always do, short and plain. Mail hold used as designed. 2 items forwarded to law, 3 released. No adverse events. Baines, post alarm wobble, near faint, stayed near desk, water and watch helped. No self-harm statements this afternoon. Keep eyes for 24 hours. Do not deliver held letter without me present. Malik, asked for comfort room without prompting, used it, no PRN afternoon, debrief scheduled morning. Darren, letter from mother improved affect, art continues, start golf pencils tomorrow with lanyard, 10-minute supervised block. I added a 5th line I don't always write. Bell exposed our weak place, mail plus movement, drill joint plan. We will run it next week. Mail review paused with a clear phrase, men staged away from the desk, water poured in advance, the person who hates alarms placed before the bell rings. We can't control the bell, we can control the choreography around it. I walked the tier one last time. Shoes squeaked where the floor was too clean. A man snored in a way that makes nurses argue about sleep apnea. The chessboard was mid-game as always, a picture of 2 stubborn miracles, patience and rules. At my office, I pulled a clean envelope from my drawer and wrote 1 sentence to myself because paper still helps when you use it correctly. Keep the boring clocks working. The unit lives on little gears, mail, meds, checks, meals. When one slips, the bell decides our day. Today we kept the gear from chewing the others. No headline, no hero. A quiet evening on a unit that remembers the smell of mint and decides to be a hospital anyway. When I left, dusk gave the parking lot its old movie look. The guard at the gate stamped my pass without looking up. In the car, I let the radio talk about a baseball game like the outcome matters. My hands didn't shake. Not today. We will see tomorrow what the lab says about the paper. We will run the drill. We will keep the 4 o'clocks honest. And when mail comes again, we will open it like it's both a gift and a test. Because here it is. The lab called first thing. 2 of the 5 envelopes from yesterday's slow lane weren't paper in the way the post office means it. I won't list recipes. The summary was enough. Not for a hospital. Property logged the result. County took the case. Chain of custody got new signatures. The lesson was old. Clever arrives disguised as ordinary. We adjusted the plan and kept the small gears turning. We ran the drill we promised ourselves. Mail plus movement. Pause phrase. Hold review. Stage to cells. Who carries the drawer key? Who pours the water before the bell? Where to put the man who hates alarms? It was 10 minutes that would bore the world and save us 30 the next time the building misread toast as smoke. Before lunch, compliance arrived, the people who check whether the paperwork tells the same story as the unit. Clipboards, lanyards, calm shoes. They asked to see incident logs for the pencil and the bell. They matched a timestamp against a camera angle against a signature. They were polite the way accountants are polite when they are holding your future by the spine. I showed them everything. I kept my voice slow. Units like ours live and die by method on paper. Drama is only useful if it proves the form worked. While they counted checkboxes, I did eyes on the way gardeners do water. Baines had that chessboard stillness that reads as patience until it doesn't. Malik had the loose gait of a man whose night finally let go. He carried his tray with both hands to trick his body into being careful. Darren had 3 new pages of doorways. The corners were rounder. I wrote the smallest sentence in his chart. Effect lifts with mail. Trial golf pencil today. The county detectives arrived just after the compliance team left. Button-downs, not suits. An investigator from the hospital walked them through the property office. I stayed in my lane, clinician, not cop. My job is to keep the room safe while other rooms decide what to do about paper that wasn't paper. We agreed on limits: no interviews with patients without counsel, no fishing in the day room, questions routed through our legal. The detective nodded like a person who has done this before and doesn't need a speech.
The yard opened after lunch, 2 at a time, then 2 more, then the last pair. Chain link above a concrete square that pretends to be a field if the sky cooperates. We keep it short in winter and shorter on days when last night still has its hands on the room. Malik asked for the ball and didn't ask to keep it. That matters here. Baines walked the perimeter once and chose a bench near the cameras like a man who wants to be seen not doing anything wrong. Darren stood inside the sun rectangle and widened his eyes as if they could store light for later. That's therapy, too. Back inside, I sat at the desk to sign the pencil trial. 1 golf pencil, lanyard, eraser, capped in tape. 10 minutes, eyes on, table only. Darren's hands shook once and then found the pace we want. A straight line, a pause, the curve of a knob, a frame with soft corners. He returned the pencil at 8 minutes without being asked, which is a paragraph I didn't have to write because the behavior wrote it. The radio cracked then, with a tone the unit hates. Transport early, Malik to holding. The court had pulled his afternoon hearing forward an hour without telling the part of the hospital that manages human beings. Early transport is a small thing outside. In here, it is a trapdoor. Custody moved on their schedule. I had less than 5 minutes to build a soft bridge between a man and a set of cuffs. I found him at the sink, rinsing his cup like a person practicing ordinary life. I stood where I wasn't a wall. He watched my hands. He watches everyone's hands. We use choice when we can. Cuffs in your cell or cuffs at the door is still a restraint, but it lets a person save a little face on the way through a small humiliation. He chose the doorway. The officer was good, steady, no extra talk. The chain clicked once. The click is the worst part. He inhaled through his teeth and then let the air out the way we practiced. He told the floor he'd be back to finish his lunch. The floor absorbed it. The hallway swallowed him and the chain and the hour I had planned to spend making the afternoon boring. The transport left. The unit filled the gap with the sounds that make this place a hospital instead of only custody. The medcart squeak, the TV's wrong colors, a counselor talking calendar with a man who knows the day of every appointment he has ever missed. Mid-afternoon, the DOJ monitor we see once a quarter walked in with her slow pen. She sat with me in the small room, where coffee tastes like meetings, and asked for an abbreviated weekly picture. Any restraints, any seclusion, any injuries, any staff shortfalls, how the suicide watch ended, what we changed after the bell. I answered in the same nouns we use when the room is loud: water, chair, door, shoe, cup, map.
She wrote "method greater than drama" on her pad without quotes and underlined it. I didn't teach her that. The building did. The county called back. The two bad envelopes had the same sender name, different return addresses, likely fake. They wanted to know whether Baines ever stood near the desk while we sorted mail. He stands near everything. The answer told them nothing. They thanked us for our boring chain of custody and said they would take it from here. Good. My unit is not a plot. It's a room we keep at a temperature where people don't break. At 4, Baines asked for a deck of cards. You need to know the fight to see the tell. We don't issue cards on this unit the way Gen Pop does. He wanted the denial more than the deck. I offered a magazine instead, the one with the tires and the highway no one here is going to drive soon. He took it, turned a page, and pressed one corner flat with a thumbnail until the paper remembered who was stronger. He does not need a weapon to feel control. He needs proof that friction still listens to him. At 5, Darren brought me the day's page. Not a door this time, a door frame. No slab, no hinge, not an exit, a place to stand and look into a room. He had shaded the wood grain with patience and, this matters, left the center white. He slid the paper to me without looking. The body sometimes knows first. I logged frame greater than door and gave him a second 10-minute block with the golf pencil because sometimes you reward the nervous system and let the mind catch up.
The transport returned Malik at 7 with a paper bracelet on his wrist and the dry eyes you get in courtrooms when air hates you. He walked in with his shoulders set like they were deciding not to shake. We staged the comfort room without making it a ceremony. He used it without making it a fight. He didn't want PRN. He wanted the clock to stop. Clocks do not stop. The hour passed. He asked for a pen to write a list of what he needed for tomorrow. We don't issue pens without supervision. We offered the golf pencil and the table. He took both. He wrote 4 lines and left the pencil on the wood like a person who expected to be trusted again. We signed it back in. The unit exhaled a little. Evening brought the usual tired anger of bedtime. Doors, trays, the TV refusing to be quiet. Suicide watch for Baines came off after a second clinician confirmed that the triangle, intent, means, timing, had lost its corners. We did not deliver his held envelope. That's tomorrow with more eyes and better time. We wrote the plan on his chart in words we could follow at 3 a.m. without guessing. Chair near desk when bells ring. Water first. Shoes visible. No legal mail without Psych. Before I clocked out, I sat at my desk and built the week backward out of small gears. The pencil became a shim, and then a plan, and then a paragraph. The night became inches, and then hours, and then a chart note that says no codes. The mail turned into a training, a hold, a call, an evidence sleeve, and a unit that went to sleep anyway. The bell became choreography instead of panic. A door became a frame. I wrote the last handoff of the day in the tone that keeps rooms calm. Nothing spectacular happened. Keep it that way. Out in the lot, dusk made the razor wire look like someone had drawn light with a pencil and forgot to erase it. I sat in the car and let silence name the things I can't write in notes. How close boredom is to mercy. How a golf pencil feels like a treaty. How often I catch my breath at 3:17 p.m., even on days we didn't lose anything. Home was a small apartment with quiet appliances. I put my badge on the hook and my radio on the shelf and a sticky note on the counter where tomorrow could find it. Boring is the treatment. The note sat next to yesterday's. Doors. The two together looked like instructions a child could follow. Build a doorway, then make nothing dramatic happen as people use it. At 11:40 p.m., my phone buzzed with a text from the night supervisor. All calm. Mailroom sealed. New admit at midnight. That's a sentence that carries 100 small risks. I texted back the only advice I have that fits into a phone. Method first. She sent back a thumbs up and, because this unit grows its own humor to stay human, a pencil emoji. I slept until my body's own alarm did the thing it does now, a small jolt at 3:17, the time yesterday set on me. I lay there and let it pass. In my head, I made the rounds. Malik on his mattress in the cool room if he needed it. Baines near the desk, eyes on shoes. Darren with his frame drying on the tray. The unit is at its safest when it is boring enough that you could draw it from memory.
I woke to a different tone on the radio when I drove in, the audit closing meeting. They found gaps in our chart signatures we already knew about, a condensation drip we had tagged for maintenance, and a clock that runs fast near the med room. They also wrote down the lines I care about. No force last week, no seclusion, no injuries. Nobody outside will celebrate those bullets. We do. At 09:05, during morning checks, the radio popped with a phrase that reaches into your stomach even when it doesn't belong to your hall. Sharps short by 1, adjacent unit. I felt the old squeeze and watched my hands for shake. The officer on our desk looked at me over the top of the log. We didn't say anything. We didn't need to. We both turned to our own page. Count here. Keys here. Mail at 11. Golf pencil at 1. Yard if the sky allows. Water before words. Shoes where eyes can settle. Frame, not door. The other unit would run their method. We would run ours. Boring is not the opposite of danger. It is the work we do against it. That's as close to an ending as this place gives. The rest stays open.